Hi, Candice Sanderson, author of The Reluctant Messenger, Tales from Beyond Belief, An Ordinary Person's Extraordinary Journey into the Unknown. What I'm doing in this video is part 2 of a Q&A. I've had several people write me and ask questions, and you are certainly welcome to do so. You can connect with me on Facebook, on Twitter, or on my website, CandiceSanderson.com. But this question is, did my connections come randomly? I cannot answer that with a yes or no answer. My first channeled messages came in August 2013. I was driving to work, and it was very early in the morning. I had a short 12, 15-minute drive to work, and I always go into work early, and it's one of those, it's so early in the morning that I think I could just let go of the wheel and the car would just get there automatically. So I'm not really focused that much on driving. I'm just on autopilot when all of a sudden I get this beautiful message that comes in about a flower. And then a couple days later, I got messages about people who had died. They had messages for their loved ones. And then a few days after that, I got a message from a star system. And the floodgates just opened. And that, of course, ended up being, so much of that material went into my book, The Reluctant Messenger. But as I think about the questions, did these connections come randomly? Although they started all at once, in August 2013, they actually had their genesis a couple weeks before. Those of you who have read The Reluctant Messenger know that I have referenced the Monroe Institute many times in my book. You can get information about them at monroeinstitute.org. They're right outside Charlottesville, Virginia, and they are I can't say enough good things about them. It's a wonderful place where you can go and experience 6 days of consciousness exploration. Well, because I had been working in the school system, I always spent my summer months attending, if I could, at least one program at the Monroe Institute. And that summer of 2013 was no exception. I had just returned from a graduate level program called Lifeline. And in the Lifeline program, what you're guided to do with their sound technology is to retrieve what they called our newcomers. So people who have just died, they have just dropped their physical bodies just recently, within a few months, and help guide them, help them finalize their transition to the other side. Now, Bob Monroe had a different type of language to describe these things. He wouldn't use words like soul or spirit or heaven. He would say, he would use focus levels. He would say, let's get them to focus 27. But whatever vocabulary you're comfortable with. I was, eager to take this program. I believed in these psychic things, but I never thought that I would have the talent or the skill set to do this. But it's like, okay, well, truth be told, I went to this program because it was a prerequisite for another program. So during the first exercise, I'm getting nothing, zilch, nada, absolutely nothing. But I really do believe and trust in this process. So I reached outside where I was lying down, and I fumbled for my iPhone. I brought it to me, and I turned on my iPhone's recorder, and I just started talking. It's like, I'm not getting any information, but I really don't care. So I opened my mouth, and the first thing that came out was a man's first name, followed by his last name, and then I heard the words Topeka, Kansas, followed by another personal pronoun. The last pronoun certainly could have been a person's first or even last name, but for whatever reason, I knew it wasn't. After the exercise was over, this was the first exercise, we were all to gather together and, discuss, discuss the exercise. And I immediately Googled his name. And I about fell out of my chair when there was his obituary. I had the first name, the last name. I had Topeka, Kansas. And as I read his obituary, that second name came up. And it was the place where he worked. So first name, last name, city and state, and place of employment. As I read more detail, I realized that he had died exactly, and now I don't remember whether it was 2 months or 3 months, but it was to the day, either 2 or 3 months from when I was doing the retrieval. I couldn't believe it. As I continued reading, if I had already fallen out of my chair, and if I hadn't, I would have fallen out this time, because I read that he was a psychologist. Now, I too was a psychologist, but I did not pick up on that information during the retrieval. This is information that I only found out when I read his obituary. And this is very much like the information I got in The Reluctant Messenger. I would get information about star systems. I would get information about astronomy, things that I knew nothing about. And then I would later do a little bit of research, and that information would be verified. And it seems to make it even more magical and when you discover that information afterwards. But when I found out that this gentleman was a psychologist, everything clicked for me. I realized it was the energy of psychology, that as a psychologist, he was attracted to my energy field and vice versa. And although that's something in my headspace I wouldn't know about, energetically, I believe that's why the connection was made. I just couldn't believe it. Then the next time we did a retrieval, the same thing happened again. I got a woman's first, middle, and last name, and then I got the information that shared with me where she lived. And then it happened again and again. And I had 7 or 8 of these, and they were all newcomers, all who had just passed within a few months. There was one exception. There was a gentleman from upstate New York who had died a year before to the day. But my experience at Lifeline changed me. And I no longer was a believer. I didn't believe in psychic phenomenon. I didn't believe in mediumship. I didn't believe in retrievals because my belief system was so altered that these beliefs became knowns. And by making that jump and reaching that tipping point where my belief system no longer served me because it was beyond belief, it was a known fact, that altered me. I came home and then spontaneously within a couple weeks started channeling. So in retrospect, it was the Monroe Institute's Lifeline program that did that for me. Now, my book, The Reluctant Messenger, Tales from Beyond Belief, this was a title that was actually gifted to me by the messengers. And the Tales from Beyond Belief is a way of recognizing what many people who read the book might feel or believe. Many of the experiences that I had are beyond most people's belief system. And believe me, they were beyond my belief system until they happened to me. And then I had this change from belief to a known. Lifeline is a graduate level program. And I had been to several programs before this. And each and every time I go to the Monroe Institute, I receive another tool in my consciousness awareness toolbox. And over the years, I realize these are valuable tools that you bring home with you. Some of them may be real obvious, and you may consciously use these tools, But then there are others that seem to be just below the surface, and you may not even recognize them as a new skill set or a new tool that you have, but they're still working for you in the background. So this is about all the time I have right now for this question. And, did they come randomly? Did the connections come randomly? No, not really. They came, I believe, as a direct result of my work at the Monroe Institute. It's a wonderful place. I hope you have an opportunity to go there sometime and have your life changed like mine was. MonroeInstitute.org. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please feel free to subscribe below, and if you click that little bell, then you'll be notified when new videos are uploaded. Thank you. Hope everyone has a great day. Bye.